Today it is a beautiful, sunny, and warm day, and I think it is a perfect time to review my favorite book of all time, Lonesome Dove. I know it's been a little over 2 weeks since I last posted a video. I'm sorry about that. Sorry about the delay. I wanted to make sure I had all my thoughts written out, or at least most of them. But here I am with my nice little cowboy cup of coffee. It is often said that there is no such thing as a perfect book. And even Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, which was originally my favorite book of all time. This was not a perfect book. However, the book I hold in my hand is a perfect book. The writing style, the maturity and consistency in tone, the rich characters and the expansive landscapes, the emotional weight, the methodical pace, nothing overstaying its welcome, nor being cut too short. All of it, perfect. Lonesome Dove is a book that will stay with me for the rest of my life. And I am beyond thankful I took 5 months to read this book, savoring every moment and every word. This is a book I believe everyone should at least read once in their lifetime. Even if you don't like Westerns, I truly believe you should read this. And there's something about this that I will always recommend to anyone I see, wherever I go. I don't typically review books on my channel. What I have been doing is reflecting and sharing how I feel about that book and how that book made me feel. I don't really go into the nitty-gritty, deep within the text, or even spoil things about the book. But today I'm going to take a little page out of Two to Ramble's book when it comes to reviewing a book. Austin and Richard have a wonderful, wonderful channel, and they provide a lot of reviews pretty much every week. I even was able to have them on my channel for a little bit for a live stream. That was awesome. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining my channel, and let's do another live stream soon. Let's geek out and talk about Lonesome Dove. I'm going to split this review up in various sections, much how like Austin and Richard do it. I'm going to do a spoiler-free pitch, talk about emotional impact, what was thought-provoking, characters, and plot. And then we'll close it all up. We'll see how long this is, so you might need to grab a cup of coffee, maybe another cup of coffee, maybe a full pot of coffee, because who knows how long this will be. I don't want this review to be this crazy, in-depth extrapolation of what this book is. I just want to share my thoughts. I'm not going to cover every single thing about this book. I don't have the benefit of talking with someone else on camera, having a back and forth conversation. I have to kind of go off of what I remember, what I wrote down, and do keep in mind, just the first little bit of this video will be spoiler-free. There will be a spoiler-free pitch. However, majority of this video is all spoilers. So if you have not read this book, please steer clear of this review. Read the book, come back, and join the conversation. I want you to enjoy this book as free as possible, without any preconceived thoughts. First off, this book, this particular edition, the 40th anniversary edition, has a foreword by Taylor Sheridan, a famous screenwriter. Do not read the foreword or the preface in this book. Just go straight to chapter 1 and dive in, because there are some spoilers, some pretty big spoilers, and I would hate for you to, again, have any of those surprises just taken away from you. What is Lonesome Dove about? Well, this will be my spoiler-free pitch. Lonesome Dove is about 2 retired Texas Rangers, Call and Augustus. They own a cattle company in Texas, in a small little town called Lonesome Dove. And one of these gentlemen gets the idea of taking a bunch of cattle and horses from Texas all the way up to Montana. And that's it. That's the book. It's everything in between that happens on that journey that makes this book unbelievably special. This book is truly about the journey, not the destination. Literally. I mean, yes, there is a destination, but that destination is different for every character. And I would want you to experience this journey and that destination on your own and come up with your own conclusions and emotional insights right here on the back. If you read only one Western novel in your life, read Lonesome Dove. Right there. That's my pitch to you. So if you have not read this book, go read it right now. Go to the store, go to the library, buy it, and read it. And when I say buy it and read it when you're ready. I don't like to just recommend books and throw it right at you and hound you and push you into reading it right now. I'll only do that to my sister and my uncle because I love them. They're my family and I can annoy them. I want you to approach this book when you are ready. It's a long one. It's 850 pages. And it's a deep, emotional journey. That's it for the spoiler-free section. If you have not read this book, hop off, come back when you're ready. From here on out, it's only spoilers. Let's discuss emotional impact. It's hard to just pick one moment that was emotionally impactful. This whole book was an emotional journey for me. This is not an easy read. It's not a light, breezy cup of tea. There were moments in here that hit me like a truck. There were other moments that kind of eased their way in ever so slightly and then just kind of pressed down on me. Lonesome Dove was not this action-packed thrill ride where every chapter ended with a cliffhanger. I wasn't constantly just turning the pages. Oh, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? No. There were times I had to really pause and put the book down after a chapter and just sit. Step away from it for a little bit. Maybe take a day or two off reading it and just think about what I read and navigate the emotions that I'm feeling. When something crazy did happen, or something that would be considered action, especially death. There's a lot of death in this book because the West was not a pretty thing. It wasn't an easy life. And when someone died in this book, I'd feel numb. I feel like my emotional compass would be in line with Newt. You'd see life through his youthful and almost innocent perspective. I'd feel very much the same as he did when it came to death. One of the very first moments in this book that really hit me emotionally, Call and Newt, I think P.I., they all went into Mexico to steal back some horses. And they were on their way back to the other side of the border. I can't quite remember if it was another stampede of horses or horse thieves. Chaos ensued. Dust everywhere. Newt couldn't see anything. Stampede, gunfire. Newt was scared. Newt was lost. He had no idea what to do. He's never really been put in this type of situation before. He's thinking the worst case scenario. What could happen? Oh my gosh, he's lost. Did Call die? What's happening? I cannot see. And when that dust clears and that morning sun comes through, Call, Captain Call, sitting atop his horse. Everything's all right. I cried at that moment. Another moment that really hit me was with Woodrow Call. He likes to get away from the group. He likes to go off on his own, camp on his own, eat on his own, sit with his own thoughts. It's a beautiful thing. And I feel like the older I get, that's me. They've got the livestock, they got the horses, they got the cattle, and he's overlooking the camp. And he's sitting with his thoughts. And I believe this is one of the first times you get a real glimpse of his memories of Maggie, the woman of his life, the woman that he had no idea how to navigate, yet she's staying right here in his heart. After reading that scene, I put the book down. I can't read anymore. That's heavy. It's depressing. So much regret. So many characters are filled with regret. And that's what makes this book so special. These characters are so lifelike. If I'm going into depth, I don't want to go crazy in depth about a lot of these, but Will Barger's death, the fact that Call and Gus rode out all the way to go see him, shake his hand, dig his grave, it's a beautiful thing. And let's not forget Lorena. Lorena, just what a beautiful character. What an impactful journey that she went on and where she ends up. Let me just read a little snippet. I might get emotional here. We'll see. This is at the bottom of page 708 and the top of 709. This is after her being taken by Blue Duck and rescued by Gus, and her developing a love, an infatuation for Gus, and an appreciation for him, a longing for him, just wanting to be around him. And here, she's making that decision to leave and stay with Clara. Maybe you'll want to marry her when you come back. Why, I'll be coming back to you, Laurie, Augustus said. Of course. By then you might change too. You might not want me. Why wouldn't I? Because you'll have discovered there's more to the world than me, he said. You'll find that there are others that treat you decent. What he said caused Laurie to feel confused. Since the rescue, life had been simple. It had been just Gus. With him gone, it might change. When he came back, it might have changed so much that it would never be simple again. Yet, when it had been simple, she had always worried that Gus didn't want it. Maybe he was being too kind. She didn't know what things meant or didn't mean. She'd never expected to find in the whole world a place where someone would ask her to stay. Even in her dreams of San Francisco, no one had ever asked her to stay. She had seldom even spoken to a woman in her years in Lonesome Dove, and had no expectation that one would speak to her. The fact that Clara had volunteered made everything seem different. It's amazing what Larry is able to do. How he writes characters, how he writes their thoughts, their doubts, their confusion, the questions they ponder. It's so real. It's so grounded. And Lorena's journey and where she ends up was just such... It's beautiful. And we can't forget Gus's death. I really thought he was going to dive in that little cave all alone. But no, this whole thing was quite ironic. Gus is the type of guy that wants to sit on the porch, drink his jug of ale, whiskey, and not work. Yet, when he's slowly dying and kind of losing his mind, surrounded by Indians, no, he's not going to sit there. He's going to get up and take care of things. So he moves on his own. And he's so stubborn that he doesn't want to lose that other leg. So he essentially chooses his own life, chooses how he wants to go out on his own terms. when death happened a lot of the times in this book, I wasn't crying all the time or choked up. I think I really choked up with Will Barker and his death. The selflessness of those men going out there, all the way out there, just to talk with him, see him take his last breath, shake his hand. And then with Gus, and even Deet's death, I was just numb. You just get numb to the whole thing because it's expected with how unforgiving the landscape is of the West. You just expect death. So when it came time for those characters to die, it's like, okay, this is the way. This is how it is. One of the last moments that really hit me, that I was just a knot in my stomach, was Call saying goodbye to Montana and not even admitting that Newt was his son, not even claiming him. Gives him his rifle, his horse. It's tragic. But I feel like if it was written any other way, it wouldn't feel right. That moment, and even the build-up to that moment, Call just constantly ignoring this elephant in the room, or even just not wanting to confront it. And Newt knew. Newt was like, come on. You're my dad. I know it. Just tell me. No, he couldn't do it. It was a tough moment, but a beautiful moment. Now let's talk about moments and elements that provoked thought. And I feel like this will just be a continuation of emotional impact, because I think they both go together. I'm not one for themes. I don't read a book to extrapolate or seek out themes and meanings and messages. To me personally, I believe themes are not seen, but felt. I believe the book accomplished what it set out to do. When I am able to feel something, whether that is the theme or just beautiful writing, I'm still feeling it. And when I was reading Lonesome Dove, I felt a lot. I felt love. I felt beauty, loneliness, longing, or this immense regret. If I were to come away with something, if there was a theme of this book, which I'm sure there are many, but it's regret. Every character seems to have some doubt or regret deep within them. And let's not forget death. There's a lot of death in this book. Many die brutally, others very naturally and peacefully. There's also death that doesn't involve people. The death of the West, the death of the outlaw, death of the frontier, and this wide expanse of landscape before it gets taken by civilization. And then there's marriage. I think marriage is also a theme of this book. There are various marriages that Larry McMurtry describes in Lonesome Dove. Some happy. Actually, I don't think there's ever a happy marriage. They're very complicated, confusing, and multi-layered. There's no marriage that's sitting in an ivory tower where everything is happy. No. There's a lot of divorce. There's a lot of manipulation and confusion. And let's not forget July Johnson. My goodness. That marriage was something. You just feel bad for July. But also I felt like July was quite pathetic. Yet I wanted to keep rooting for him. It felt like a car crash that I just couldn't look away from. And it just kept getting worse and worse. He lacked confidence and self-esteem. Whereas Clara was just like, come on, be a man. And Elmira just left him. And he kept wanting to follow Elmira. And Elmira, my goodness, talk about a character you didn't want anything to do with. I couldn't root for her if my life depended on it. One thing I loved about Lonesome Dove is not only was I thinking and navigating my own thoughts? The characters were also navigating their own minds and the various layers to life, their regrets, their doubts, their dreams, their loves, their joys. It's a very human book, and that's something I always talk about. I love when a book is grounded in reality and has that element of humanity. And this book is cloaked in humanity. We'll talk about characters in a little bit, but the most realistic depiction of people ever written in a fictional book, period. When it comes to pondering and taking a step back and just sitting with your own thoughts, there's this quote that I feel encapsulates that. This is Gus thinking about his love life. This is page 663 to 664. Now Jake was gone and Clara near. It seemed to him he might be wise not to go see her, just trail on into Montana and let the past be past. No woman had affected his heart in the way she had. The memory was so sweet, he was almost afraid to threaten it by seeing what Clara had become. She might have become a tyrant. She had that potential, even as a girl. Or she might have become merely a worked out, worn down pioneer woman, her beauty gone and her spirit tamed. He might look at her and not feel a thing, in which case he would lose something he treasured. On the other hand, he might look at her and feel all that he had felt in their younger days, in which case riding off and leaving her wouldn't be very easy. Then there was Lorena. In the last weeks, she had proved sweeter than any woman he had known, more responsive than his wives, kinder than Clara. Her beauty had flowered again. The cowboys were always thinking of excuses to ride within 20 or 30 yards of them so they could get a glimpse of it. He ought to consider himself lucky, he knew. Everyone in the outfit, with the possible exception of Call, considered him lucky. He ought to let the past keep its glow and not try to mix it with what he had in the present. But then he knew he could not simply ride by Clara. Whatever the threat of turmoil or disappointment, of all the women he knew, she had meant the most, and was the one person in his life he felt he had missed in some ways. I'll just leave it at that. But it's just a prime example of how these characters are so deep with their thoughts, how they go back and forth, how nothing is concrete and certain, even in their own minds. This is a book about life surprising you. You feel like you have life all figured out. What you like, what you don't like. You have your whole life and future planned. And then there's a shift in the wind. Something changes your mind, and you make a different choice. It never felt like these characters were impulsive in their decisions. I mean, yes and no. It never felt unrealistic with how Call just got the idea from Jake Spoon to pack up and go to Montana. Or Lorena, following Jake, leaving her life in Lonesome Dove to go with Jake, and then leaving Jake to go with Gus. It all felt natural. Though there were surprising moments, nothing really felt surprising when characters made choices, because you got a glimpse of what was inside their mind and how they thought. This book has the most realistically written characters ever. And in this section, I don't want to go over every single character in the book and talk about them in detail and this and that. I just want to touch on a few and just talk about the characters as a whole. Though the story is told through the perspective of mainly Call and Gus, there are other characters that you dip in and out of. You get to see the story unfold through their eyes and their perspective. And you're invited in to their headspace and how they think, what their dreams and doubts are in life. Lorena, Dietz, P.I., Newt, Jake Spoon. When it shifted from one character to another, I was never upset or annoyed. I wanted to read about every single character and spend time with them. I've heard a few people have issues with the beginning of this book. Not a lot happens. Like the first 200, 220 pages, it's pretty boring. But to me, that kind of methodical, day-to-day, moment-to-moment kind of pace really sets the tone. It lets me settle in with the world and the characters. You were introduced to so many characters in the beginning, yet it never felt exhausting or overwhelming like Wheel of Time. Each character is given time and breath, a spotlight to subtly shine. I'm truly amazed with how McMurtry shifts perspectives seamlessly. You're never confused or surprised. It doesn't feel like whiplash. Whoa, now I'm in Call's head. No, now I'm in Gus. Now I'm with Lorena. With how Larry writes these characters, if he didn't provide a name, I would know which character is which because of how they talk, with how they see the world, with how they see people. The unique thing about McMurtry and his writing style and his approach to characters is backstories. How he presents that character and their backstory. Sometimes it's up front, and sometimes it's pages and pages and pages. Maybe a whole chapter. What got this character to where they are now? How did they end up here? What was their life like before this moment? Normally that'd make my eyes heavy, having to read a backstory at the moment I'm introduced to a new character. Not once in this book did it feel forced or like a chore. It didn't feel like a fantasy novel when an author would lore drop about the entire lineage of a family or the entire timeline of a kingdom. I don't know how Larry McMurtry juggled so many characters at once. Sometimes he'll shift multiple times in a chapter. These backstories and descriptions of characters makes the world feel alive and lived in. It feels like it matters. And you end up really caring for every single one of these characters. Or at the very least, intrigued. These backstories never take you out of the present. They set you up for the present. You truly become invested in every single character. Or at the very least, intrigued by them. You might not care for all of them, but most of them. Especially Lorena, Newt, Call, and Gus. July Johnson was tricky. And speaking of July Johnson and the shifting of perspectives, the first 200 or so pages, you were with this cattle company. You're with Call and Gus and all these other cowboys, just drinking coffee, eating food, arguing, talking, digging a well, or at least attempting to, stealing horses, and then getting this idea of going to Montana. Then that moment happens where everyone's ready. They've got all the cowboys hired, ready to go. We're setting off to Montana. Boom, cut to black. The camera lifts up, way up in the sky, all the way over here, to a different town, to a different character, to a different perspective, but not without reason, not by accident. July Johnson. The cause and effect of Jake Spoon and his decision making. He's going to hunt down Jake Spoon, but not without being introduced to his family. and the inner workings of the town, and Deputy Roscoe, and his son and his wife. And then he sets off on his own journey. And so does Elmira, his wife, who has great resentment toward July Johnson. You have all these different paths. Oh, this is easy. This is a narrative trope. Everyone's going their separate ways, but then they're going to eventually converge, and it's going to be a happy ending or a big shootout. No. July Johnson loses his entire family to Blue Duck, to Indians, and then he has to navigate this new shift in his life and his newfound love for Clara. All the while, the boys in the Hat Creek Cattle Company are making their way to Montana. And don't get me wrong, I love my intimate 1 or 2 character stories. But Lonesome Dove is a prime example of how to seamlessly shift from character to character. A while back, I made a video on self-help books and why I think you should read fiction over self-help. And I believe you can learn more about life and people and yourself than you ever could in a self-help book. Lonesome Dove is a book that has many lessons that I think we can take into our own lives and apply them. Characters making choices, good or bad, or not making choices. How they view life, how they view people. Are they calm under pressure? How do they handle stress and anxiety? How do they relax? What is recreation to these characters? And how do they identify mistakes in their life, let alone move on and learn from these mistakes? So much from this book of fiction can be taken and applied to our own lives. I know it sounds crazy, but that's because these characters are real. They're grounded in reality and authentic. They're rich with layers and depth. It's as if these characters have truly lived these lives, and we're just learning from them, like history, like a history book. Let's talk about plot. We know the plot's simple. It's about 2 Texas Rangers, friends, and they own a cattle company. One of them, Captain Call, gets the idea from Jake Spoon to try out the territory of Montana. What would life be up there? So he gets that idea and packs up, and they go up north. But like I said, it's not about that. It is, but it isn't. It's about what happens in between, the journey. This book is a prime example of journey before destination. It's not about arriving to Montana. It's about getting there. It's about the characters and the characters you meet along the way. The landscape and the hazards, the conversations and the questions pondered, the doubts, the regrets, the choices these characters make, or lack thereof. This journey to Montana painted such a visceral and honest depiction of travel in the West. Larry McMurtry did not romanticize or glorify the landscape or life in the West. This wasn't some John Wayne superhero book, saving the day, killing the bandits. No, this wasn't pretty. It was gritty and grounded. What I loved about this book is the consistency in tone and the consistency in being authentic to that time period. That helped me immerse myself into a different period of history. Like I mentioned, how visceral it is. It's visceral in sex and violence, yet none are glorified. These aspects were a part of the landscape and that life on the frontier. When things are happening in a bed, that never overstays its welcome. You never felt uncomfortable, at least for me personally. Larry McMurtry does go into detail, and certain characters talk about this act, but it just felt authentic to those characters and to that lifestyle. It never felt like Larry had some sort of weird kink that just lingered on the page for pages and pages. No. And it was quite humorous, too. You know, carrots and pokes. Granted, I'm pretty sure that's the language that was used at that time. And when violence happens, it's never disgustingly detailed. It's real. It's honest. It happens. It's a way of life. It's the dangers of traveling in the West. I don't even really think I'm talking about the plot. There's just too much to talk about. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I can't cover every moment in the plot or every character and how they think and view life. I do want to touch on one more aspect, the humor. I haven't laughed out loud so much while reading a book. The bickering, the arguing, the little quips that characters would throw at one another. Brilliant. I was dying laughing, especially Augustus. That humor never felt out of place. It felt like it truly came from the character and their personality, especially Augustus McCrae. I absolutely loved the difference between Augustus and Call. You've got the philosopher and the talkative argumenter. And then you've got Call, the quiet, stoic, hard worker. Gets this idea in his head to go to Montana. Call is the kind of guy, once he has a goal in mind, he's going to see it through. Gets to Montana, doesn't feel really happy. Then he gets another job to take Gus and that sign. Back to Texas. The irony. But it never felt out of place. I can talk about this book till I'm blue in the face. This is that book that will follow me through every moment of life, whether it be doing household chores or having a kid. I'll move on to another book, like I am right now. I'm reading The Shining by Stephen King. Yet, I'll never stop thinking of Lonesome Dove. This book will never leave me. It will continue to follow me every day of my life. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to hang out with me and hear my ramblings about Lonesome Dove. I hope to hop on various live streams and talk a little more in depth about Lonesome Dove with other folks. But for now, till next time.